Hello, this is Mina and I'm gonna explain my assignment 2 for data science course at George Brown College, and the goal of this assignment is using a decision tree model in sklearn library scikit-learn. I tried to do first part of my assignment in two different ways. First with data consists of numbers, some things like that. And then with strings, I use some words like hot, rainy, and something like those words. And I did this approach in order to show my journey for this assignment more clearly, and I think that the second way is exactly what you want, and I'm gonna introduce both ways. Okay, so now we want to know how and in which condition we can play outdoor tennis. First of all, import pandas and sklearn with the data from a created file here. I read the CSV file here, and here is my data. 3 columns as features, temperature, wind, rain, and 1 column as a label. I can play tennis or I cannot. And then, as it's expected here, the type of this data is data frame. Here you can see just the data related to wind. The column related to wind data, and here all of my data, tennis dataset is here. Import NumPy to use some features. And here I convert my data to an array, and then you can see my data as an array. Here I split data into parts, one training and other for testing. The 17 rows for training and the rest for then here fetch the features and the label. Here I just select the features, and here you can see all the columns except the last one, and the last one is here as a label. Using tree from sklearn and decision tree classifier for my model, fit the feature and label, predict one sample, and the result is the correct, and this true means that in 25 centigrade degree, and when the weather is not rainy, is sunny and no wind, we can play tennis. And here, fetching testing data from the last 6 rows, separated features and label, fit them, and then test, and result is as expected here. Now I'm gonna explain another version. I mean, the second way that I reach out the result for part 1 of my assignment. I import pandas, NumPy, entry and preprocessing from Scalar. And with the data, now my data is something like that, as I said. And here you can see the first 5 rows of my data. I show it with head, all the data. Using a label encoder method from pre-processing, which convert the variables into categorical data, and encoder encoded variable digits. Here we transform I scale the data, and you can see that temperature is converted to an array, and you can see the numbers. I mean, instead of that words hot, cool, or normal, or I don't know, mild. Yeah. And then you can see that I converted all the columns to numbers, and then here the temperature, humidity, wind, weather, and play is replaced with that numbers, and the data is now here visible. And then using iLog to select data from columns and rows. Here all the data except the last column, and then here the last column as a label. Decision tree classifier for my model, and also using a tree sample to test. I think you want us to use this sample to test. Predict the samples to reach out the result, and the result is correctly as expected. In a second approach, I use pre-processing and also using three sample to test. I mean three sample not from my data, and as you can see, both ways worked correctly, but as I said, I think the last approach is exactly what you want. For part 2 of my assignment, I created one CSV file, including some data through which I should figure out someone has COVID or not. and read the data. And here we can see my features like fever, cough, breathe, and then the label that someone with one doesn't have COVID, and I mean does. One means that someone has COVID, and 0 means that doesn't. And like the first approach, I used new numbers for my data and then converted it to an array. And you can see the data and my array here. And also, I like to say that with processing and encoding, like what I did for the second way of part one of my assignment, is possible to do that this way too. And then like the part one, I split the data into features and label, and with the importing train test split from scalar model selection, I could divide data into trains and test sets. And also test size is 3.0, which means only 30% of the data is gonna be tested. And then decision tree classifier model with the trainer and predict the test data. Here you can see prediction and the whitest data and compare them with each other. And finally, for reaching out to an accuracy, with importing accuracy score from scaling metrics, you can see that I got 8800%, which is not bad. I tried my best to explain, and I hope you enjoy my video and my effort. Thank you for listening to me. Bye bye.